Looking to manifest your specific person? I know you probably are. And are you a little bit concerned because you're thinking back to the old story? You're thinking back to how the relationship ended. Perhaps it didn't end too well. Were you arguing all the time and it just became really toxic? Or maybe you found that they had left you for someone else. Perhaps they cheated. Perhaps there were other things that were going on. Their behavior towards you wasn't right. They weren't treating you in the way that, you deserve to be treated. And so perhaps you're finding it difficult to see past all of that, or to see how can there be any sort of reconciliation of this relationship if, not only I'm thinking about the old story and the old arguments and the toxicity, but they're probably going to be thinking about it too. How do I get past that? So I'm going to share with you my experience in this video to hopefully help you out. First up, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Athena Raven, a mental health and manifestation life coach, and I'm so grateful to have you here. Thank you so much for your kind comments of support on my new YouTube channel. It really is so inspiring, and I'm so happy to know that my experiences and my knowledge on this subject is helping you to manifest your dreams and desires. That's what I'm here for. I just want to see you guys thrive in the very best possible way that you can. And if there's any way that I can help with that, then I am truly blessed to be here. So thank you so much for being part of my journey and for helping this channel to grow. I'll go straight into it then with my experience with my SP. So I always revert back to this particular SP, all of my TikToks, all of my YouTube so far, even though I have manifested there's been other SP manifestations that I have done during the course of the years. I'm in my 40s now, so I've experienced a couple of relationships that I have wanted to manifest back. This particular one was my soulmate, my first love, and I revert back to it because at that time I was still learning about the law of assumption. I was still making mistakes, and it took a year to manifest him back, and we had quite a lot of obstacles and blips in the road and all sorts of things. So I know that this is going to relate and resonate with a lot of people because it's not always a straightforward approach. And I know that a lot of coaches make this stuff look and sound easy, but I understand that it's not always the case. And even with all my experience, if it's something close to my heart, I still have to go through a process. It's still not going to be a instantaneous manifestation, by any means. So I totally relate. Don't give yourself a hard time about it, and just know that you are not alone in feeling like overwhelmed with all of the obstacles. I mean, when we look at the obstacles if your obstacle is, okay, so yes, he had moved away, he had blocked me, there was animosity between us, he was living with someone else, he had been bad mouthing me to his friends and family. It's just every breakdown on every avenue that you can think of. And our breakup was very messy, very bad, lots of arguments. It just, deception on his part. It was just breaking down. Like I say, we were young, he had his problems, I guess I had my problems and insecurities. We just completely broke down as two people. And so having this breakaway and having this blockage was, I suppose, a blessing in many ways, because even though I was doing the naughty thing and I was checking his social media and seeing all these nice pictures of him and his new partner together, awful, please don't do it to yourself. It's like a self-punishment. I think that's what I was doing when I was sort of in that old mindset. It serves you no purpose in manifesting them back. So when I blocked off from them and distanced myself a little bit from the family, so I wasn't getting the feedback of all the negative stuff he was saying, I could focus in on myself and exactly what I wanted and how I was going to embody the state of this new person, this new self-concept that was in a new loving relationship with my SP. So for those of you who are concerned about, well, it ended so badly, some people have mentioned on my TikTok about, well, what about, it's a divorce and there's, you sign the settlements and things like that. It's like, none of this matters. The circumstances don't matter. Like I say, if you knew the breakdown of the relationship I had with my ex, if you knew some of the stuff that happened, you would be, well, first of all, probably confused as to why I would want to manifest that back. But secondly, you would think, oh, that's got to be dead and done, right? But I knew in my heart I just had this gut feeling. I had this desire. He was my first love. I was young. I wanted him back. I couldn't see past any of that. It didn't matter to me. So I was focusing within. Not only was I changing myself and embodying this new version of myself that deserved this new loving relationship, recognize that I say new. You are not manifesting the old relationship when you do this. You're not manifesting that old broken relationship, you know, like being reunited, but both of you being the same people. Because let's face it, the relationship you had with your SP, you know, your ex, whoever, it broke down for a reason. It didn't work for a reason. It just didn't happen for a reason, right? And so you don't want to manifest that old situation. You are turning into someone new, magnetic, vibrant, and you're manifesting a new relationship just with that specific person. And of course, when you're going through your change and shift, so are they. Now, if you're really concerned about how the relationship ended, you've had some really horrible toxic arguments, for example. Well, what I did in this instance, apart from all my other visualizations, meditations, I did a bit of self-hypnosis, I did a bit of scripting, you know, I tried all sorts of things before I shifted state, and then I was just able to let it go. It was done. I was okay. And I was just enjoying being this new version of myself, learning new skills. I'd even started dating someone else in the meantime as well, which helped me to develop my personality even more. I tried new things. I broke out of all old habits. It all shaped me into this new person. So when me and my SP came back together, it was just amazing. It was like we were two completely different people. Now you're probably wondering, well, how did he shift? How did I get him to change to become that ideal person? It was all based on my assumptions. Remember I said in my previous videos, I had the assumption that he couldn't stop thinking about me. He was missing me. He wanted to be with me. I'm his soulmate, all this sort of stuff. He embodied all of that. Even when I thought, okay, he hates me, he's bad-mouthing me, he's blocked me, I had to keep on reaffirming that assumption. No, not affirmations like, he, like, you know, I am the loved one, I am chosen, I like a robot. No, I can't get on with affirmations like that. But it had come naturally. It was like my natural inner talk had shifted to, I know that he's coming back. I know he loves me. I just knew, you know, because I had done the visualization so much. I had bathed myself in the glory of what it felt like to be in that relationship again. And so this was my natural inner talk. He embodied that. Now, what I did with in the beginning, because I also was worried about he's going to be reflecting on old, you know, old arguments, behaviors. Like I say, things got really toxic. I did Neville Goddard's revision technique. It's quite a tricky technique, to be honest. But what you'll find is that, say you've got a memory playing over and over in your head, a toxic argument or something that happened, a toxic incident or whatever it might be, but you're playing it over in your head. You're feeling like, you know what, this is what's anchoring me to the old story. This is worrying me because I'm thinking, then, you know, they're never going to let me live it down. They're going to be thinking about it because I'm thinking about it. So how can we get past that? Well, if you find that scene, whatever it is that's playing on your mind, revisit it in your imagination and live it out how you would want it to have played out. Change it. Because remember, your memories often insert the little gaps with imagination. You know, how accurate is your memory anyway? You're coming at it from your perspective. They'll be seeing it from their perspective. You know, this is why people can go to the same party, witness the same incident, but come out with quite different statements as to what happened. You know, we're coming from our different perspectives based on our beliefs, based on our identities, based on our views and opinions on things. You know, our world is quite different from, you know, the standpoint of each individual. So I thought, well, you know what, I'm not going to put too much importance on that. It's not set in stone. It is the past. It doesn't exist anymore, only in memory form. So I diminished its importance. I've revisited it a few times during the night, you know, sat before I went to sleep in a state akin to sleep, or just take myself back to that scene that was bothering me, playing on my mind, relive the argument so that the argument didn't actually happen, so that it didn't happen in the way that I remembered. It wasn't as toxic. It wasn't as bad. It was, you know, it was okay. It was fine. It was amicable. It was a discussion instead of screaming and shouting. I changed everything. Or I also tried to like blanket, you know, from his mind and just make it all about the positive memories, make it all about the future positive memories, make it like it was a fresh blank canvas. You know, I would just be immersing myself in these visuals, and then I daydream about it. And whilst I was shifting state, you know, sometimes I'll just be like, I'm getting a bit overwhelmed with the 3D. I'm missing him. I want to text him. Okay, what do? Sit down, just breathe, just slow my mind down, go into a sort of meditative state almost, and again, bath myself in the glory of the relationship and the past memories, which were now different, which I had given a different meaning. I mean, actually, at one point as well, I remember getting a book and writing down about, okay, this was the incident that happened. This is what he said. You know, this was the meaning that I got from this is how it made me feel. And then I attached a new meaning to it as well. You know, this is, you know, he was coming at it maybe from this angle and giving it just a different perspective, making it a more positive scene. So then I could embody that. So then I could incorporate that in my visualization. It just made everything seem less dark, less angry, less toxic. Everything was nice and bright. And it was like, made it easier for me to transition and to think ahead, think of the future, think of, well, the present, really, my new present, which even though it wasn't present in my 3D reality, it was existing now. I was living, you know, as if it's a given, it is here, it is coming, it is really soon, I can feel it, you know, and I was just getting on with my life and able to live my life as I adapted that state, and I just dropped it. Now, the interesting thing is, when my SP and I came back together, there's a video that I've made on my YouTube. Go check it out if you're curious about, you know, what he was thinking and feeling. Because I asked him, what were you thinking and feeling whilst I was manifesting you? And that's when he was saying about he thought I put a spell on him and thoughts of me became more frequent and all of this stuff. But it's funny. There was an incident quite recently with someone I knew who had wronged me, and I was, you know, regaling this to my, you know, my SP. I just want to point out, I had manifested him back years ago, and we stayed in a loving, committed relationship for a few years. But then, you know, I sort of wanted to separate from that. I wanted, you know, to go, I suppose, in a different direction. But we are still the best of friends, so we're still very much in contact, although he would very much like to be, you know, my boyfriend again. However, when I was telling him about what had happened with, oh, this person wronged me, and I was like, oh, you know, that guy, what a, you know, that's really out of order and everything, like I would never do that. And it was like he was talking on his high horse, and I was like, actually, if you recall, you did do that, and you did something similar, and you've done worse. And you know what, I kid you not, hand on heart, he couldn't remember. He couldn't remember. He actually acted like it had never happened. He was like, no, are you serious? He'd remembered like elements of things that he had done. He had remembered when he cheated on me, but he couldn't remember how toxic it actually got. He couldn't remember that he said the certain things to me. He couldn't remember that he'd, in an argument, you know, ripped my necklace off and things got, you know, really, really heated and bad between us. Didn't remember any of that. And I'm feeling like, you know, my revisiting it and changing the past, I have quantum shifted to this new reality whereby those past events didn't happen like that. He didn't remember it. And so he was coming at it from a completely different angle. He was there on his high horse because he was like, no, you know, I'm the good boyfriend. I never treated you like that. And it's like, we never had this toxicity. It's like, well, actually, yeah. So it really fascinates me. I've heard stories from clients of mine as well who I've helped to use the revision technique. One of them was really, really worried, you know, young girl too, because her and her boyfriend had such horrible arguments. It had broke down their conversation. We had done revision together a couple of times, and she contacted me not long ago. This didn't take long, by the way, for this shift to happen. I think it was a couple of weeks. She contacted me not long ago to say, oh my God, he's talking to me as if nothing happened, as if that argument never happened, as if everything is fine and we're talking about getting back together. Like really, really bizarre. I've come across things like that. So please, 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 don't be dissuaded. You know, if the past is bothering you that much, I mean, just remember, first up, the past doesn't exist anymore. You know, the past is finished, it is done. But if it bothers you that much, then revisit it. Do Neville Goddard's revision technique. And if so, you know, if you guys are interested, or if you want me to maybe try a guided version of it, of course, it would have to be quite generic. You know, let me know in the comments. But try Neville Goddard's revision technique. If it really bothers you, that will help you to just see the past as something different. Then you can let it go and you can focus on this present, your present reality, and what, you know, potential you have for a new relationship. Because past is gone, it's done, it's dead. it doesn't need to be your anchor anymore. It doesn't need to be your obstacle. It doesn't need to be any of that. So I really hope that this was helpful and inspires you to continue on your journey. Please don't ever give up. And I'm sending you all the love and support in the world. I look forward to seeing you in my next videos.